Let's start with why budgeting bottoms up is critical for your advertising and marketing budget in 2021. It's critical because you want to know that the amount of money that you have invested in marketing and advertising by different platforms and projects is giving you the return that you expect. For example, if you invest $100,000 across multiple platforms in Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Pinterest, and you get back $150,000 in revenue, you may be tempted to think, I made so much money through this advertising. I made $150,000. Well, the starting point really needs to be $150,000 minus $100,000. So you really only made $50,000. Now, it's critical to understand what your expectations were and what your investment was across platform so that you can see if every single project was profitable. For example, if you invested $40,000 in Instagram, $40,000 in YouTube, and so on, it's possible that your Instagram may have generated a significantly smaller amount of revenue than YouTube or Facebook. It's important to define your expectations at the beginning of the year so that throughout the year you can actually see the numbers that are coming in and understand whether or not your investment met your expectation. This is critical so that when you look at your actual results, you can decide strategically if you want to keep investing in a certain project that's not generating the results that you expected. Like if you invest $40,000 in Instagram and you don't make any money in revenue because you might be getting extra followers, but no one's actually buying anything, is it worth it? Is it worth to put that amount of money in advertising? It might not be. However, you may think that by having a continuous amount of followers that over the next 5 years, it might generate into some amount of money. But you're not able to understand that or know that without first getting a budget together and then comparing that to actual results. Go ahead and download your template and let's walk through it together. Up here in this corner, go ahead and enter your business's name and your name. Under that, write the team name and the team leader. For example, if you're a small business like myself and you're doing everything on your own, you'll also write your name in that section. But if you are a small business where you actually outsource your marketing to a marketing manager, then you're actually going to ask them to fill this template out for you and give it to you for your approval. This is critical because you don't want to give someone a lump sum without knowing that every single dollar that you've invested is returning with some sort of outcome that you've expected. Okay, under that, we're going to put the budget planning year. So every year you want to save this template and look at them side by side to really compare how successful you've been each year. Below that, you've got your budget planning account and your total budget amount. So after your team or you have completed the exercise, you just add up the total annual amounts for each project and you stick it right here in this total amount. In the first row of this budget template, I've put in an example so that it's very easy for you to understand how to input each row for your own company. So this is the project ID. In general, whatever account I'm planning for or whatever spend I'm getting, I usually have a unique identifier. That way, if I have them all together in an Excel sheet or a list, I'm able to say very specifically it's this ID. Because year over year, for example, you might have this exact same budget amount. And you want to know, okay, well, what's the specific unique budget that I'm talking about? Was it 2021? Was it 2020? So that's why I usually have a budget ID. And I've actually pre-filled that in for you in this template. The next column is a project name. That could be anywhere from Instagram campaign to YouTube campaign to billboard campaign or something like that. This next column, the project description, it's important to specify exactly which costs are included. For example, if you're only paying for the advertising of Instagram and everything else you actually don't have to pay for, like the production costs and the videotaping and the close because I guess maybe you already have it on hand or whatever the reason is, that's very different than if you are paying an incremental amount to hire a photographer, to do the photo shoot. All of those expenses should be included so you have a comprehensive understanding of the actual cost to do an Instagram campaign. In this next column, it's the category. And that's because you want to be able to group together the amount of spend that you're spending on social media advertising versus something like print advertising versus, there's all kinds of advertising out there. And it's important to be able to see the effectiveness. For example, so many people talk about how important it is to do social media advertising campaigns. So naturally, we may want to invest in it. But if we don't actually write down our intended results for the social media campaign and group it together, our spend versus our results, we don't know if it's actually effective. We may find that in a certain area, print advertising is actually far more effective than social media campaigns. In that case, we want to switch our strategy. Okay, so that's the category. Now in this next column, I would say this is probably one of the most important columns in the entire budgeting process. And that is your intended outcome. You want to know what you expect to get from your amount invested in social media or any other type of advertising or marketing. So in this example, I wrote, I'm expecting to get 10,000 followers and an additional $100,000 of sales, which means that I would get an incremental $60,000 of profit. So it's very important to dictate the actual amount of a financial impact, a benefit that you expect to get from investing this amount of money. This next column is your project leader. So if you have a contact at Instagram or someone specifically related to this project, you want to put their name here, and then you want to put their contact information. If you don't have a contact, then you can go ahead and leave this blank. The rest of these columns have more of a finance and accounting criteria to them. For example, I want to know the start month and the end month for a couple of reasons. I want to know how much I'm going to have to attribute to the monthly reporting period for that spend. In my budgeting course, I will go into depth about what accruals are and why they're critical, super important for you to understand what your profitability is in actual terms. But for now, it's important just to know that you need to have a start month and an end month. And for example, if you're running different kind of campaigns, like one campaign from January to March and then another campaign from September to December, you're going to want to put those on different lines so that you can really understand how much per month. In the billing column, you want to put whether it's billed monthly, annually, or quarterly. And in the annual amount column, you want to put the annual budget amount that you have for that project. After filling in all of these lines, all you got to do is add up the annual amounts and put them in this total amount. And now for reconciliation purposes, when you look at your budget in 2021, your total budget should equal this amount. And that way you can know exactly what your budget amount was. And you won't be confused, like, what did I budget? How much was it? It's going to tie right to this. If you have any questions or want to know more about the course offerings that I have for 2021 budgeting or the other templates that I have, please reach out to me at samson12.com. I want to dive into a couple different scenarios for the intended outcomes column. This is very important because you want to make sure that the money that you're investing is returning a result for you, and not only just any result, but the result that you expect. So if you are someone who doesn't have a budget and you have certain expectations for a marketing initiative, it is very possible that those expectations are not getting met. You may be getting money from different sources. And as a result, strategically, you may want to allocate your funds differently. One example I want to go over is our influencer campaigns. So every single influencer that you plan to use in your marketing strategy, you should have them in their own unique line. Here's a reason why. I've seen reviews for influencer campaigns where someone paid a lot of money for an influencer to mention their product. And it turns out they didn't get any clicks or visibility. Now, that might be a gamble. It might be a risk that you're willing to take. If you notice that there is a regular outcome where multiple influencers that you have invested in to market your product actually haven't delivered the results that you expected, it may be important to try to shift your strategy to a different marketing initiative that will give you the results that you expect. It also may be that you need to shift your expectations. Like paying someone $150 for an influencer may not generate $10,000 of revenue. It may generate $300 of revenue. Still more than you invested, but definitely not as much as you might have expected. That way you can actually shift your expectations and kind of understand, okay, how much money do I need to invest to get a certain amount of an outcome? And what am I really seeing compared to what I expected? Another example of advertising that you should put down is print advertising. If you're in a local business, there's tremendous results with just printing out flyers and handing those out to people. And if you can put on a card something like a coupon or promo where they have to bring those cards in, then you can actually track, okay, how many customers did I get by handing out these flyers? You might be able to invest $50 and receive a certain amount of leads that help benefit your business. I am so excited to be on this journey with you. We have so much to talk about, and I have so many resources to share with you. Please stay tuned for my upcoming courses and other resources, and you can reach out to me directly at samsa12.com.